What about second breakfast?
Time for second breakfast.
Hello, Monster here from Breakdowns for Breakfast with another second breakfast. Over the past few months, I've been doing a deep dive into nu metal musicians, giving a list of guys and gals that I thought maybe don't get enough recognition, or maybe because they're in the realm of nu metal get overlooked a little bit. But I did a video on guitar players, drummers, and bass players. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different. These I'm calling my nu metal wildcards. These are guys that don't play one of the main instruments, but they add to their band's visuals, sound, whatever the case may be. DJs, percussionists, auxiliary players. And in a lot of cases, back in this, late 90s, early 2000s, tons of bands had DJs. And so I didn't want to just make a list of 25 DJs, because what I wanted to do was try to find guys that maybe were DJs but had a little bit more to do with their band other than just that one component. So what I did was I compiled 5 guys that I think are really kind of influential to their bands that maybe get overlooked a little bit, or maybe just when you think of the bands, these are not the guys that first come to mind, but are very important to their bands. Starting off with Mr. Hahn, Joe Hahn from Linkin Park. Most people that listen to this show are pretty familiar with Linkin Park and know that I'm a big fan. But Mr. Hahn is the DJ. He also does sampling, but he also directs a lot of the music videos, and he directs music videos for other bands as well. I know he did some Story of the Year music videos. I think he might have did a Stained video. But yeah, so in addition to coloring the music with the scratching and the samples and stuff, he also has that part of what Linkin Park is known for. Back in the day of band DVDs, I know Danger and I talk about these sometimes, and they kind of don't exist anymore because of, YouTube and everything. But Mr. Hahn always seemed to be like in a pretty good mood. Like, he seemed to be a fun guy to have around. So, I think in addition to just, the DJ scratching and the music videos, I think he's a component to just sort of the vibe of Linkin Park in a lot of ways. The next guy I wanted to mention, DJ Lethal. Now, and DJ Lethal from Limp Bizkit. Originally, he was in the hip-hop group House of Pain with Everlast, but eventually he joined Limp Bizkit. Now, a little bit different here than Mr. Hahn, because DJ Lethal is a little bit more of just the band's quote-unquote DJ. But the thing about DJ Lethal is he's one of the best DJs, ever. And I think because of, and I've talked about this before when I was talking about Sam Rivers and John Otto, when you've got guys like Fred Durst and Wes Borland in your band, to still be so damn good at what you do is not easy. And DJ Lethal definitely does that. I believe the story goes he was originally just brought in to do some studio work on $3 Bill Y'all. And Fred asked him, hey, do you want to join the band? And he said, yeah. And he's been in the band ever since. So a lot of these guys, interestingly enough, outside of one guy I'm going to mention here in a minute, have pretty much been with their band from the beginning. There might have other guys have come and gone, but they're still around. So for me, as a, fan of nu metal, I like the bounce and the groove and the heavy riffs. DJ Lethal, he's not necessarily one of the first things I think of whenever I think of Limp Bizkit, but there's so many parts in songs like My Generation where he has a solo essentially. And so I like the fact that even though he is maybe just the quote unquote DJ, he still is a prominent member. And live too. There's a lot of parts when they're performing where he's spinning songs in between Limp Bizkit songs, and it's kind of got this party vibe that I think is really cool. Next guy is a guy by the name of Sean Crahan. Now, if you listen to this show, you probably know that name, but just in case you don't, that would be Clown from Slipknot. On stage, he's mostly known as the guy that hits the keg with a baseball bat, which, hey, that alone is a pretty cool job description, all things considered. But Sean is way more than that, because in addition to doing a lot of percussion, he does backup vocals. He also directs a lot of Slipknot music videos. He's also kind of like the visual guidance of the band. He's the visionary of Slipknot. The masks, the costumes, the imagery, a lot of that Sean Crahan's just whatever's going on in his brain. And I think that that's a huge part of what made Slipknot so dangerous and exciting when they first came on the scene in the late 90s, because there's no denying those first couple Slipknot records have some great songs on them. But it was also the masks and the mystery behind it, and then the vulgarity and sort of the horror movie vibe of it all that I think really took Slipknot from being, wow, this is a really cool, aggressive band, into this is like nothing we've ever seen or heard before. And a huge part of that is Sean Crahan, because while he's not playing guitar and he doesn't have the vocals like Corey Taylor does, he wrote a lot of the lyrics and he helped just shape what Slipknot is. So maybe musically not the most important member of Slipknot, but behind the scenes possibly the most important member. So I thought that was really interesting. All right, this next guy I'm going to mention, it's a little more of a personal thing. A guy by the name of Miggy Sanchez. Now, Miggy is the percussionist in the band El Nino. He's also does some lead vocals, some backing vocals. But he's also the lead singer in another band called Relent. And Relent is a really cool Christian NuMetal band that I've actually played with. And when I was in the band Red Letter Rising, Miggy actually did vocals on a song with us. So shout out to Miggy there. Thought it would just be fun to kind of bring him up because he is, this is kind of that little connection there. But he has not been in El Nino that long. I think he joined, I don't know, like in the past 5-10 years or something. But El Nino has had 35 different band members or something. They've had a ton of turnover. I don't know if there's any remaining original members. They even have a new lead singer now, so I have no idea. But I just want to give Miggy a shout out just because of that. And the last guy I'm going to mention here is a guy named Frank Delgado. Now, again, most people that listen to this show are going to know who that is, but he is the DJ, sampler, synth player, atmosphere creator for Deftones. And what's really cool about this guy is he was essentially a guest musician on Around the Fur and Adrenaline, the first two Deftones records. But then at White Pony, he basically became a full-time member, which means he has been on every single Deftones record that, mainstream major release, which is kind of wild when you think about some of the turnover in some of these bands. Now, in the case of Deftones, they've never really had members leave or anything like that, other than Chi Chang, who did pass away. Gosh, I know I'm not even going to guess, because I always say it was like 2 or 3 years ago and it was actually 15. So I just know that he passed away. I think Chi was on the first, and I know I just talked about bass player. He was on my bass player list I talked about, but I won't say he was on the first 5, maybe 6 Deftones records. I can't remember. But Frank Delgado. So the thing about Deftones is, while not prominently featured like scratches, and there's very rarely like a lead key line, so many Deftones songs, even back on Adrenaline and Around the Fur, have these sort of like soundscapes and atmosphere. And again, we talk about modern metalcore and how every frequency has a sound and there's all this stuff built in. love it or hate it, Deftones were kind of ahead of the curve on a lot of that because they were doing that exact same thing. Again, you don't notice it as much in the earlier days, but once White Pony hits, moving forward, a lot of those songs have these real like digitally twinkly kind of soundscapes that the band is just playing on top of. And again, you know, sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. But you know, you think about a song like Digital Bath from White Pony. It's very kind of got this weird, I don't want to say 8-bit flavor to it, but it just has this little synthy thing happening that kind of just adds to the mood of the song. And that's all Frank Delgado. So there you have it. Like I said, there's a lot of other guys like this. There's DJ Life and then also DJ Kilmore from Incubus, who obviously play a huge part in that. There's a lot of other really cool DJs. And then one of the other things I was going to try to do, but just I was getting in the weeds with it, was like the guys that do the synth and the programming for bands like Orgy and Dead Sea and, you know, that kind of stuff, because those guys are, you know, a big part of that sound too. But I was looking for like guys specific that you like are known for being in their bands, you know. So, but yeah, so that's 5 like auxiliary wildcard guys that I think are real important to their bands that maybe aren't in the, you know, the first 2-3 band members you think of, but are also probably more important than you thought. So yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. I feel like there might be one more list that I got to do. I don't know. I'll think about it. But until then, I hope you have a great day.